And what let me say it again. So the first pose we're going to break down is Warrior One. And one thing that I hope that you get to start, even though it's like just module 2, is that we start to take some of these core concepts that we've been learning about alignment and foundations of postures and apply and recognize you already know so much. And so much about proper alignment for these poses. So first thing, when we look at Warrior One and in standing postures, we build them always from the ground up, and we cue them in general from the ground up as well. So what do we notice in Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1, about the foundation of the pose?
Sort of a modified lunge.
Modified lunge. Are the feet flat to the ground?
Not the back one. The back one might want to be, but
It's a bad picture,
Okay.
but it is. It is flat to the ground.
In the A section looks like it's not.
In A, it's not. In A,
Yeah.
that's crescent, and I don't know why they do it that way. So rather than have crescent lunge be a modification of lunge, they make it a modification of Warrior One. Whatever. I mean, it's fine. It's similar alignment. But for our traditional Warrior One, both feet are on the ground. So when your foot is on the ground, it's mountain foot, period. You know, like we want to be able to lift up our toes, have the arches engaged, have the foot evenly grounded to the earth. We're going to add more about the feet, but I want to point out like the things that you know already, okay? So then when the next like foundational piece is the pelvis and the pelvic bowl. So what do you notice about the pelvis here?
Forward facing.
It's forward facing. So I call this neutral pelvis and neutral hips because your hips are facing the short edge of the mat versus external, which we'll get to with a Warrior Two. So pelvis is looking forward. Is the pelvic bowl tipped to right or left, forward or back? No. So that neutral pelvic bowl, that is just going to be like a constant through our yoga practice. This area of your body, this whole like circle area, like your pelvis, your low belly, your gluteals, that's your core. That's like the center of your universe. So you've got your feet or hands stabilizing you. And then the next one up is your pelvic bowl stabilizing you. And so we want to keep it neutral. It might have a soft tilt forward because the front leg is forward, but we wouldn't like make it tilt forward. It might just be a response of the tissues in our body having it tilt forward a little bit. Okay, what do we notice about the spine?
Slight curvature.
Yeah. Would you, if you had to put Warrior One in a category of flexion or extension, if you had to, your life depended on it, which one would you put it in?
Extension.
Extension, yes. It's a micro extension. It's like a little baby back bend, Warrior One, but it's pretty minor. And again, the body kind of naturally goes into that back bend, so it's nothing that you need to specifically cue, but it's also something you don't have to be overly concerned. If you do see just like a little more lordosis in the body, it does bring the body into a little baby back bend. We just want to make sure we're not like splaying out the ribs and like overdoing it.
Is a variation of this ever an upward gaze?
That is not anymore.
Okay.
So we're gonna get to that. We'll do that in just 1 second. Okay. So let's just look at arms and shoulders. What do we know about our arms and shoulders in Warrior One?
It should be down and not over here.
Yeah. So the tendency is I want to debunk a little myth and then also just draw some awareness. So the tendency with arms up is to go into a shrug. So people will shrug their shoulders up. And what So we don't want that. We don't want it, we don't need, this is not our goal, to be walking around like this. But when the arms raise, as do the shoulders on your back body also they do lift up. So just kind of feel that for a second. Just raise your arms up and just feel the lifting of the shoulders, how that occurs. And just go down and up a few times and feel that. And then the next time they're up, just hold your arms up. And with your arms up, feel a shrug. Okay. And now all you're going to do is just release the shrug. So just let it go. And now pull your shoulders down and feel that difference. We don't want that. Neutral between the two.
So you don't want to pull them down.
No.
Oh, that
So-
actually strains you.
It doesn't feel, it feels icky, right?
Yeah.
So that's, again, sometimes some cues made it into mainstream because it was a correction, it's an overcorrection of a common misalignment. So this is a common misalignment, but to say pull your shoulders down is also not what we're looking for, and it creates a stretch. The shoulders are supposed to go up, that's healthy biomechanical movement. So I say, like, release any shrugging in the shoulders, maybe let the top of your shoulders relax are good cues, versus pull your shoulders down. Feel the difference there? Okay. And then the gaze, so the cervical spine. In the Ashtanga yoga practice, there is a drishti. A drishti is where you look to. And so there's a drishti for every pose. And that's where a lot of the gazing up came from. So like warrior one was a gaze up, half forward fold was a gaze up, cobra up dog was a gaze up. And what happens then is we lose the natural curve of our cervical spine, and we end up like, our cervical spine, we kind of want it to be like a string of pearls and just like naturally go into that nice arc. And what tends to happen is it turns into like a hook where there's just like one vertebrae that just does all the work. And you want to know where your one vertebrae is? Go feel the back of your neck and find where you have the crease. That's your vertebrae that has been, do you all have a crease?
Yeah.
Yeah. Annie, I think you're old enough to have a crease. I don't know, like, do you have a crease, Lorenzo? You're on the younger side too.
I don't have a crease.
Okay. Good.
You mean like a crease in the skin or the bone?
In the skin, yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
like
no.
the
this.
skin.
Do I have a crease? I don't feel like I
Yeah.
have a crease. Do I have a crease? Is it
Lift
here?
your chin just a little. Right here.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens is, well, first of all, so we don't need to look up because our bodies, just most of our modern bodies just can't keep that string of pearls sort of, it's not the whole vertebrae that's doing it, it's usually just one set of vertebrae. And so what happens is our thoracic spine, so where you have ribs, your thoracic spine is the first part of the spine to calcify and age essentially and lose mobility. So we have significantly less mobility in thoracic spine. And so that movement in there is the medicine. Now what happens is, because the middle of the back of the thoracic spine is stuck, we end up having usually one vertebrae in our lower back, in our L, like 4 L5, and one vertebrae in our cervical spine that end up doing all the movement for us.
Oh, geez.
And so that's why those are the two areas, like people will always be like, I have a herniated disc, and you're like L4 or L5 or both, like you know exactly where it is. And when people have the cervical spine issues, it's usually like right where thoracic spine ends, because those two parts of the spine end up doing all of the spinal movement because our thoracic spine doesn't move.
Oh, how do you want to do that?
How do we fix that?
You mobilize your thoracic spine. So you mobilize your thoracic spine through diaphragmatic breath. Really the emphasis, side body and back body as well. You do side bends. you do rotation. And then that awareness, you know, that piece of what we were doing a lot of today was keep your pelvis here. And then do your move, you know, and then do your movement so that your pelvis doesn't get to make you think that you got all this extra mobility. You have to isolate that area. Massage, body rolling, things like that too can all help.
I think some social dancing isolates the rib cage and, yeah, so if you think about salsa, bachata.
Yeah,
rumba,
Yeah,
it all gets that.
belly
going.
dancing too is really all about the rib cage movement too. So you salsa dance?
I'm going to,
Yeah. All right.
doing it all.
What?
I said I'm gonna do it all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to keep our gaze more or less straightforward because we love our necks, we love our cervical spine, and we want to keep it healthy. Okay. So you kind of like knew a lot of that, right? Okay, now let's dig into these areas a little bit more. So our foundation. Let's start with the foot stance. What- You're going to do it very,
Okay.
you can do it right now if you want to feel it in your body, and you will definitely do it within the next few minutes. Okay, and or if anybody wants to demonstrate Warrior One and be the model up here, and I can point out things on their body, you're welcome to do that as well. If you just want a little bit of, if you want a little TLC or someone to like kind of see your pose a little bit. So, foot stance. Front foot. Just forward, mounted foot, right? So what are some things you've heard about the back foot?
45 to 60-degree turn.
2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like
2 or 10, depending on which foot it is.
To the outside of your pinky toe.
Push the outside of the pinky toe.
Firmly down.
Firmly down, the 45 to 60-degree angle, right? Have you ever heard heel to heel alignment?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, does that mean anything to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should be.
So like, I'm just gonna demonstrate on the side of my mat. So heel to heel alignment, we're just gonna start with that piece of it and just not do it anymore. But so you can see that's, if I drew a line from my front heel to my back heel, we're in heel to heel alignment. Okay. And so that, if I were in heel to heel alignment here, you can see that my legs are, you know, crossing center here, and my ankles are narrower than my hips. So do you remember in module 1 why we're not advocating for feet together in mountain pose, why we're advocating for feet hip width, hip alignment, knee alignment? Yeah, who is this for? Remember who
Little
this?
kids, little boys.
Prepubescent boys, that's right, prepubescent boys who don't have hips and pelvises and who have that really narrow stature. This is the same as this to that body shape.
Unstable.
Yeah, so it's destabilizing, and it's also, it's very hard on the knees. So it's a huge cause of like knee discomfort or knee dysfunction. So in our Warrior One stance, we want to keep our feet like hip width. So that's why when we step back into like a lunge or something, we just want to make sure we don't have the heel to heel, but we have that foot over to the side a little bit. We have our feet more hip width, and we'll feel this in our body, so you can feel the difference. Okay, so I've got my back foot on a 45-degree angle. What do you think you might see in the back foot? What's a misalignment you think you might see?
Raising your heel.
Raising the heel, you got it. That's there's 3 common misalignments. That's one.
Over. Turn.
Yes, we'll see Warrior 2. So remember, a good rule of thumb is your hips, the front of your pelvis looks in the same direction as your knees. Okay, so that's why this is our Warrior 2 stance, because our knees looking out, our hips can look out. Warrior 1, pelvis looks forward. We don't want our knee poking out to the side. We need to have that 45-degree angle so that our pelvis and our knees are all moving in the same direction. So heel up, foot more at that like 90 degrees. And then Jan actually like said the opposite cue to this a little bit before, like the remedy, that pinky toe side will lift up as well. So it's a nuance between the heel or the pinky toe side, and we lose that mountain foot. So we want to make sure our feet are hip width, 45-degree angle, mountain foot. Let's start there. Okay, everyone up. Now for warrior one, not warrior two, for warrior one, it's a shorter stance than a warrior two. Like front to back, it's a shorter stance. So, and our hips are staying in neutral. So an acceptable and safe transition for warrior one, if you don't want to do the whole sun salute deal, is you can for warrior one, do a step back. Or a step forward, I suppose too, but you can do the step back is a safe way. And also, you know how we're talking about some of those populations where all the ups and downs and stuff are harder for them, that's a good one for it. So let's come into mountain pose, and let's just all do this on the same foot. So let's keep the left foot forward and let's step the right foot back. Okay, now look at your feet and check that the right foot is at a 45-degree angle. Good. And it's not like you get to find your sweet spot within correct alignment. Okay, now pick up all 10 toes and get that mountain foot, and in particular the back foot. It's hard to maintain it, right? And so sometimes we need to widen our stance, shorten our stance, change the rotation, the angle, whatever you have to do to get mountain foot. Okay, keep mountain foot and lower the toes down. All right, next piece now is we're going to turn the pelvis towards the front of the mat. So that means left hip back, front hip forward. It's very nice to cue the right and the left side of the pelvis. So rather than just saying right hip forward or just saying left hip back, cueing them both. Okay. Which foot's back? Right foot's back? Okay. All right. And so also with that is you can feel your right sits bone pressing forward, and that will engage the hamstring as well. Okay. Now this is important. Back leg, it's like the kickstand for the pose. It's super, super strong. So what we're going to do now is just a little flow. We're going to bend the front knee and straighten the front knee. And we're not going to let the pressure and the mountain foot and the back foot change at all. So that's going to require muscular strength to keep that foot grounded. So that cleans up both the heel lifted and the pinky toe side of the foot lifted. Is if we really cue that grounding of the back heel. You feel that? Your calf muscles might be talking to you. All right, so now let's pause here, knee over ankle. We've got left hip back, right hip forward. Now, if you go too far, you're going to pinch the lower back. You're going to anger the lower back. So you got to just notice what's the right rotation for you for this. Okay. Now take some diaphragmatic breaths to autocorrect the spine. Gaze forward. And then hands and arms are like the wild card, you know, it's the icing on the cake. So they can stay here on your hips. Someone give us another option.
Goddess.
Straight. So
Or
traditional
goalpost.
warrior one,
Relax.
our arms up. Yeah, then we've got our goalpost arms, or
Could they go palms, fingers facing down, palms on your,
yeah, palms on the lower back.
And be at heart center.
Yeah, they could be an Anjali mudra. For the palms on the lower back, then hug the elbows towards each other. So you're engaging that. We could have any mudra here, right? We could have Anjali mudra, Hakini mudra, Adi mudra. You know, you can do mudras with your hands. Okay, let's straighten and come back into mountain. Shake, shake, shake it out. All right. Bringing down, so we'll bring the right foot forward. Keep the right foot forward and step the left foot back, affirming that we have about a hip distance for our heels.
Now look at me.
Yeah.
Do I have heel to heel alignment here?
And that's good.
No, I know, but it's not only like, they're only like this far apart. Do I really need to work on getting my foot out more?
Are you pain free?
Yes, and my normal walk is to like practically be on a balance beam.
Okay.
That's my normal.
Do you have a history of modeling?
No, but it's
Isn't that like the
like
the
if you watch
catwalk?
if you see my footprints at the beach, they're like in front of each other.
Yeah.
instead of
It's like
beside
a
each other.
dog walking too.
Right.
So
So then we just have to lean into, so this is like, again, there's deviation, so
because this
Do
would be
you-
really like weird for me to put
do
it.
you have hip, lower back, or knee pain?
At any given time or right now.
Like,
I'm
I would say like,
64.
in general.
Yes,
Okay, so then I would widen it. I would, so,
okay.
yeah, just try it out. I mean,
No, I will.
obviously,
I'm just-
you have
That's why I wanted you to look
we
at
have
it.
muscle memory, yeah,
Yeah.
so we have to like, so just try this out
Yeah.
now and see how
Okay.
that feels.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so right foot forward, left foot back, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so now create mounted in both feet. Okay. Particularly that back foot. All right, right hip back, left hip forward. And what's probably, your back leg might still be a little bit like at lunge. So if you feel that sits bone, feel your left sits bone push forward and ground your left heel to the earth. Do you feel how that tones up? Those two cues tone up the back leg. And now we can safely bend and straighten the front leg, and it should be like nothing in the knee. Like the right knee should be an invisible joint. You feel nothing because the back leg is supporting. Back heel doesn't lift up. The pinky toe side of the foot doesn't get to lift. Okay, so now we stop with knee over ankle. We might just check in with pelvis forward. Good. Now let's just do a little check-in on that back bend aspect of it, because you're already in a back bend right now. What can happen is the ribs popping out. So just kind of feel what that feels like. Over back bend, pop your ribs out, splay your belly forward. Okay, and now bring your bottom ribs in. Shoulders over hips. Good. And choose an arm position that feels good. Feel that difference of arms skyward and the difference of release the shrug versus pull the shoulders down. Hands to hips. And we step it forward. And give it a shake. Okay. Questions so far? We've got a few more things to kind of dig into with this posture. Any questions or comments? Okay, so last is that front knee. Okay, so what do yoga teachers love to say about the knee?
Don't go over your big toe.
Yeah, don't go past your big toe.
Past the
Yeah,
big toe.
knee over,
Ankle.
knee over ankle, knee over ankle, knee over ankle. Yes, it's a good cue.
Except
Okay,
for runner's lunge.
kneeling runner's lunge.
Kneeling.
Yes, when the pelvis is higher than the knee, we keep the knee over the ankle. If the pelvis is lower than the knee, then we can bring the knee beyond the ankle. It doesn't put the pressure, because when the pelvis is higher and it goes beyond, and the knee goes beyond the ankle, it just goes all right into the patella, the kneecap, and causes pressure in the knee. When we've got the hips lower, then a stretch occurs in the ankle and the calf. Okay. So knee over ankle, but then also that knee can side to side wobble too. And we really want to keep an eye out for that. So let's just feel into that a second here. So let's come back into our mountain pose. Okay, and step the right foot back. All right, mountain feet. Feel the left hip draw back, right hip forward. Ground the right heel as the right sits bone presses forward, engaging the whole back line of the right leg. And bend your left knee, knee over ankle. Okay, and now just kind of notice, let that left knee kind of sway over to the left, and what happens to your big toe?
It comes up.
Yep, and then over to the right, pinky toe comes up, and then it's center. Okay, step back to mountain. So what could autocorrect that knee? What cue? What reminder? Mountain foot, mountain, Padabanda or mountain foot, yes. So, because you can't, well, you could kind of, but it would be harder to let that knee sway side to side.
Feeling
Okay.
through the 3 corners or 4 corners, you know, the
Yes.
3 corners would correct it.
But you
Okay.
wouldn't say Padabanda to a level 1 class.
You would
doesn't know
not.
what Padabanda is, you would say, you know, remember mountain pose.
Yeah, mountain, I call it mountain foot, yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Now, let's just talk about some variations, things that we can do with, so we have our traditional warrior one, like our static warrior one. Good pose, solid pose, opens up, you know, it's a nice neutral pelvis, stretches the back line of the legs, a little bit of a heart opener, lots of great stuff to happen here. We've already talked about how we can do all these different arm shapes, but we can also do a flow with our warrior one. So what's one flow?
I was doing the, like, the goalpost arms.
Yeah, so you
So
can do,
you're breathing, inhale,
so the exhale down,
exhale down, see? Okay.
inhale up. Yeah, and so it could be, and Carla's doing both. So let's start with just warrior one legs and just exhale arms down, inhale them up. Good. Good. And then it could be with the bending and the straightening. So exhale, bent knee. Inhale, straight leg. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straight. Yeah. Or we can put the two together. Inhale, long arms, long legs. Exhale, goalpost arms, bent knee. That's one option. Good. One flow option. What else? Switch your feet. What else could we do to put a little lipstick on our warrior one, you know? So let's create our warrior one legs. We could do like inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, arms to the side. So you can do this nice shoulder movement. And now what I really like is adding a hinge for it. So we can inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinging forward, arms to our sides. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, big circle, hinging forward. I'm having a total mind blank on what these arms are called. I use it all the time. I cannot remember what this is called.
But the idea is that you
Yeah.
stay really stable in your feet. And your
Yes, your
pelvis.
legs, yeah. So when we do these flows, we really want to isolate where is the stability. So for warrior one, I would, you know, stabilizing the legs and mobilizing the upper body is like going to be the safest bet. And so you want to watch because so like in that one, if I'm doing this, right? You know, you're gonna see without awareness, see how my knees coming forward, and my knees coming back, and my knees coming forward. So that's like kind of like a floppy, unstable posture. So we establish what's stable, what doesn't move, and then what does move, and what's that safe movement. Yeah. Good. You could do. I think we're good on that. So then what sequences well with warrior one?
It's a half moon.
Half moon.
I mean, if you were
Warrior
more
three.
advanced, but you would be able to step forward with one leg back.
I would do half
What
moon
about a lateral?
from,
Maybe I have the wrong name, but if you're in.
What about a triangle?
Here,
show us what you're thinking of.
well, here you're in,
Okay, you're in warrior one, yeah.
could you bring your hands down to blocks and then lift your leg
Warrior
up?
three.
So that's standing splits.
Yeah, that's.
So that's,
Oh.
and that, yes, the standing splits is a neutral pelvis position. Okay. And then, and standing splits, I mean, some people really like standing splits it up, like they really do it. But standing splits can also be a krama of our warrior three, which sequences well with warrior one. Warrior one is like the starting point for a warrior three. And then what's another neutral pelvis?
You could do step forward and do chair.
Yes, but I just, with our feet here,
Oh,
just
okay.
since we took all the work to get our feet here.
We
Will
can do,
Can you do the lateral?
do
No.
like this.
No, because the hip. are-
Pyramid. Yep,
Oh,
you're right, Sharon. So we can do pyramid pose as well. So we've got warrior, so the friend gang is warrior one, warrior three, standing splits, pyramid pose, and any lunge, because lunges are friends with everyone. Lunges are Switzerland, okay?
Can you repeat the poses we can do with it?
Yeah, it's on, but
Oh,
I
no.
could, but it's on, so like when you look at your, the color coded sequence sheet,
Yeah,
it's there, so we've got
Okay,
we've got the
alright.
neutral hip ones, and then we've got the external rotation ones. Yeah. All right,
Oh, so anything that's a neutral hip one, okay. got
yes,
it.
yeah, neutral hip,
Any neutral hip would flow.
that
on this.
family is friends. Okay, fabulous. Now, let's just look at just a couple little things that go along with this. With Warrior One, something that I really love about these, the IYT cards, is they have the core quality. So the core quality is courage. And when we're starting to think about energetic cues, we cue our transitional poses, then we cue our anatomy poses to get into Warrior Two or Warrior One, and then we hold Warrior One with breath. And then that's a really beautiful time to say that Warrior One's core qualities, that of courage. Can we breathe courage through our heart, through our fingers, through our body, wherever we're feeling the posture? Now, memorizing all the core qualities of poses for a class is not realistic. But you would look at like whatever your theme of the class is, or you just pick a couple, you could, or just one. And really base that class around, what does courage or strength feel like? And then we start to explore it in those postures. Okay.
It says here, take several breaths to embrace life courageously as you encounter all obstacles along your journey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they give you the energy cues. And then the other thing I'll just point out, because this is nothing new, but now you've got more knowledge. So you've got more knowledge about the koshas now, right?
Mhm.
So you can see how on the back side where they have the cues here, they're color coded by kosha.
Mhm.
So I think that like anatomy cues need to kind of come from like experiential. You gotta kind of have those, right? You gotta learn those and get your foundational cues. But then you want to go into some more thematic or energy type cues. Well, you just move down your koshas a little bit and do your cues, and IYT gives you a lot of ones to start with.
So we did that yesterday.
Oh, good.
We cued the kosha, we took a pose and cued for each kosha, but that was basically copying that.
Yeah. No, but that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, you were kind of like part of a almond, like after the fact. like-
Like, where did it even come from?
Yeah, well, I know, I did eat one, but it's like, it was just hanging out there, I guess. Okay, questions, comments about Warrior One? Okay, all right. Then we're going to go on to Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2. It's on you know what, I actually have the other cards here. I can tell you what it's on. I have so many sets of cards in here.
That's the one before here.
15 maybe, might be on page 15.
It's pose number 3.
This is in the newest book, but in another book it's on page
Yeah.
15.
I have it.
Okay,
It's on page 21 for me.
well, there you have it. I told you there's 3
I'm
different
a
versions.
2015.
There's 3 different versions floating around here. No, I think that's the middle one that you have there, the second one. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Let's look at this pose and let's establish what we know already. Okay, with the feet. What do we know about the feet? Yes, thank you, mountain pose. All right. What do we know about the pelvis?
Open to the
To the
side.
side.
Yeah, and is it tipping forward, back, right, or left?
No.
No, it's neutral. Okay. What about the spine? Neutral.
Natural curve.
Yep, natural curve. So unless it's specifically like a flexion pose or an extension like back bend pose, it's always going to be neutral spine, always. Okay. And then the shoulders
Neutral or like down into
in
their
the shoulder socket,
inside
right?
the
Yeah.
socket.
So it's same thing. Let's just feel this with the warrior two arms. Let's take our arms out to the side. Okay, so tendency is shrug. So let's just feel that. Okay, now all you're gonna do is release the shrug. Just relax the top of the shoulders, release the shrug. Okay, and now do what we're not gonna do anymore and pull the shoulders down. Okay, you feel the difference there? So we're just gonna let our shoulders and hang out in our shoulder joints. We're like, you know, this very cool creation like made your body just right. So we're just gonna work with that. Now keep those shoulders in the shoulder socket. And then the gaze is often to the front fingertips and beyond, but it could also be forward. Okay, so like if this my arms versus looking to fingertips, I could look forward. Why might I want to look forward? Who might want to look forward?
And
Because
balance issues.
Next up,
Yeah.
yeah, balance issues, vertigo. So some people just moving their head side to side can make them very dizzy and stimulate vertigo. So that head looking straight forward, like in line with the spine, can be important. Okay. And then, yeah, we're ready to feel. Oh, so then what's our foot alignment for this one? The foot is 90 would be the most, and so somewhere
60 to
between 60 to 90, somewhere in there. And 90 would be for a body with maximum flexibility. So just know, so you know you have maximum flexibility in your body, so that's available to you. But just know that if it's like, let's just say like this like tight dude comes into your class, and you can kind of see like his, you know, he's here, he can't sit up tall and in the seated pose, and you're seeing this tightness. If you see that practitioner's foot at 90 degrees, they don't have it. Like we're going to want to have them bring their toes forward a little bit to offer just a little bit more grace for their hips, a little more space, a little less pull. Okay. And then it said heel to arch of foot alignment, right? Because that's what keeps the pelvis in that neutral line. Okay. There's more, but we got to feel it. So let's come to the head of our mat. And could one of you please cue the group through the sun salutation until we get into the runner's lunge. And then I'll take over from there. These are transitional postures into runner's lunge.
Sweep your arms.
Oh, thank you.
The side back bend. Fold, hinge forward, forward fold. Half forward fold with hands on chin.
Yeah.
Forward fold. Place your hand on the mat and step back with your left leg into runner's lunge.
Thank you. Okay, so from runner's lunge, we're going to ground the left foot to the mat. Heel to arch of foot alignment. Okay. Slowly lift up, hands to hips, your hips and heart facing the long edge of the mat. Now we're gonna just kind of build this pose.
So your hips are facing this way now. Okay.
Yeah, facing the long edge of the mat. So first create your mountain feet, pick your toesies up. Good. Keep those arches of the feet strong and lower the toes down. Good. And now play around with your pelvis a little bit. Do it a little to the right, a little to the left. Find where your pelvis is in a neutral position, and you might front and back that a little bit too. Okay. And from there, maintain that neutral pelvis as you bend your right knee. Now, do you feel that soft stretch in your groin and your inner thigh? Yeah, do you always feel that in warrior two? Seeing some not, some, I don't know. Okay, so now just feel straighten your leg. The tendency is to tip the pelvis to the right, so just do that. Tip your pelvis to the right, left hip is higher,
The left hip is higher, okay.
and then bend the right knee. So do you feel how there's no stretch in your groin there? Yes, it removes, so
My
that's,
knee hurts.
okay, and your knee hurts, because you've lost,
Right.
okay, because you don't have stability. You need your pelvic bowl neutral to create stability. So now let's re-neutralize the pelvic bowl. Bend that right knee. Good. And now this in warrior two, that knees swaying side to side, front to back becomes even more of a challenge. So generally like a good cue is like if you can see your big toe, it's usually in the right spot, but we can't like, sometimes people will go like this, you know, and you're like, no, from up here, can you see your big toe? You know, not like looking around for it. Knee over ankle. Good, feel your spine tall. And now float your arms out to the horizon. Good. So right now your spine is in this beautiful line. And let's just go into what we're gonna see a lot of, which is take your right fingers and reach it forward 2 to 3 inches. Pause there. I call this surfer pose. And you feel how your pelvis tilts and stuff. You're gonna see a lot of this. So we gotta get the spine back. Good, relax the top of the shoulders. Perfect. Now from here, I just want to keep, we're going to return to it, but could somebody cue us into runner's lunge and back to mountain pose? Someone new?
When you move your hands down to your block
Yeah. In what pose?
into runner's lunge.
Very good.
Oh,
All the
sorry,
way
where is that
mountain,
supposed to
yeah.
be going?
Yeah.
Did you say mountain?
Mountain, yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
That's good.
Now, take your left foot and join it with your right. And
That's
forward
forward fold.
fold, and halfway lift, hands on your shin. Breathe in, exhale, forward fold, bend your knees and lift up. And come through heart center and place your hands to the side.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was like, where are we going?
Yeah, I
forgot.
told you, it's not a question of if, it's when.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're in mountain pose. I'm just gonna go to the other side. And who's going to now cue us into warrior two? In case you haven't figured it out, you're all gonna get a turn. So. So now we're going to cue us into runner's lunge with the right foot back.
Inhale, raise your hands to the sky, swan dive down. Forward fold, half lift, forward fold. Hands on the ground or your blocks. And step your right foot back. Step into
Nope, just, you're good, and just say runner's lunge.
runner's lunge.
You're there. Okay, so now, from here, now we get to start cueing our warrior two. Let's ground our right foot to the mat for a warrior two stance. Heel to arch of foot alignment. Good. From there, lifting up, hands to hips, and let's bring that left leg to straight just to start. Find your mountain feet. Good, as those toes lift up, engage your quadriceps, hug the quadriceps to the bone. Good, lower the toes back down. And now neutralize your pelvis. Good. Front to back, side to side. With neutral pelvis, bend through that left knee, knee over ankle. Good. And then take those arms out to the side. Soften the tops of the shoulders and gaze to your left fingertips and beyond if that feels good. Good. And just kind of, for this side, I want you to hold it for the same length of time, but I just want you to kind of feel the pose a little bit. Right. Make a memory of what this feels like in your pelvis and your knees. Okay. And then can somebody cue us back into mountain pose?
Cartwheel, arms down.
Two
Blocks.
and pose.
Runner's lunge.
There we go.
Step your right foot up to your left.
Which is
Hold. Halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep your arms up. Exhale, and lean our hearts in. And arms up side
All right. Thank you. Now I'm going to cue this on each side, just getting into warrior two, and I'm going to cue it with that like windmill arm thing. And what I just want you to feel is how's your alignment when you do that? That's it. Do I feel that stretch in my groin? Do I feel like, how do I feel? Does it feel like it did before? Okay. So from mountain pose, let's exhale out all the air. I need you in every class, Annie, to like lean so inhale and circle sweep the arms to the skies. Exhale, big bend in the knees, hips back, forward fold. Inhale, keep the bend in the knees, half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold, fingertips to earth, and step your left foot back into the runner's lunge. Grounding the left foot for a warrior two stance. Heel to arch foot alignment. Inhale up and into warrior two. A nice bend in the knees, shoulders over hips, arms out. Now just feel this. Notice like you, if you could take like a Polaroid of the feels. Okay. And now if we're in warrior two just right, the front leg won't fatigue. Okay, so if the front leg is fatiguing, that's telling us we don't have mountain foot, we don't have neutral pelvis, we might be in surfer pose. Okay, so now you feel this, hands to hips, straighten the right leg, check in on mountain pose, mountain feet. Good, neutralize your pelvis, maybe lift the right hip a touch higher. Return to the warrior two bend in the knee, and option to have warrior two arms. Okay, and just notice if you could take a Polaroid of the feels here, same or different.
Same.
Take a big breath in. Exhale into runner's lunge, framing your front foot, right foot. Step the left foot forward, forward fold, deep exhalation. Inhale, circle the arms up to the skies. Exhale, hands to heart center, mountain pose. One breath here in mountain pose. Good. Exhaling all the air out. Inhale, circle the arms to the skies. Exhale, big bend in the knees, hips back, forward fold. Keep the bend in the knees as we inhale, half forward fold, small arch in the lower back. Exhale, forward fold, fingertips to earth or blocks as we step then our right foot back into the runner's lunge. Place that right foot for a warrior two stance, and on your next inhale, lifting the body up and into our warrior two. Take a moment to get to your feet, hips, knees, and pelvis in that warrior two. And again, if you could take a Polaroid of the feels, just notice what this feels like on this side. We have some of these little things that we can, that are little guesses that we might be out of alignment if we don't have that soft groin stretch, if the front leg is over fatiguing before the back leg.
So my pinky toe is lifting on this side, are my legs too far apart?
Probably. Which is our next round.
Okay.
Okay, now hands to hips. Straighten that front left leg. Establish really good mountain feet. Good. Establish neutral pelvis, right, left, front, back. Maintain mountain feet, neutral pelvis, and return to your warrior two. Spine is upright. Option to float arms out to the side or keep them on the hips. And breathe here. Take the Polaroid and just notice same or different. Take a long breath in. On your exhalation, coming into runner's lunge, framing the front foot. Good, big breath in here. As you exhale, step right foot forward, forward fold. Inhale, reverse forward fold, arms to the skies. Exhale, hands into mountain. Okay. So that same or different, the cartwheeling into the warrior two, in my experience, some people, about half the group can get there, like in that, and just the right alignment through the cartwheeling up, and about half the group can't. And I really, and so not to make it the cans and the cannots, like, I really kind of think it is a little bit of that. It's not, it doesn't necessarily mean like a novice practitioner, you know, or like, it's just sometimes just like the way your hips and pelvis move, it might be a bone, like, I don't exactly know like what it is, but I do know that that there are many people. So who did it feel different? I think Annie had a yes, right? Anyone else? Did the two warrior twos feel different at all? I mean, yes, too. I want, you know, so just kind of be aware of that and notice that if you're teaching warrior two and you're using your eyes, and if you're seeing, do you see the difference? Do you see my pelvis? So if you're seeing this, and this side body is a really good telltale, we want to see the side body upright, okay? And then also, if you're seeing that hand forward at all, those are good signs that student, or that if like multiple people in your class are here, you know, then you need to straighten the legs, get the spine up, you know, do all the things, and then come into the pose. So just kind of, you know, have a little bit of an awareness surrounding that. Does that make sense? Okay. Then here's the last piece. And so this was coming up. Sharon was feeling with her back foot was coming up. So like, how wide is our stance? And what can happen? So first of all, if mountain foot is not available to you, generally your feet are too far apart front to back. So whether it's warrior one or the warrior two stance, you might need to bring your feet a little bit closer together so you can get them grounded. And then sometimes too, it's a little bit of the rotation of the ankle. So by getting it, just kind of like finding your sweet spot for where you can get that mountain foot. What can happen a lot in warrior two as well is people take a very wide stance and the pose looks really lovely, you know. Yeah, thank you. You know, they're like, I'm totally doing it. But if there's a point where your feet get so wide where you lose core support. Okay, so where all it is like dumping down through the pelvic floor and you don't have any strength up through the center line of our body. So I just want you to feel that. And that's a hard one. Sometimes you can just tell because you're like, your feet are like, you know, it's just like, you look ridiculous, Haley, you're 5'7" and you're using the whole mat. Like, that's stupid. Okay. So, and then other times though, you aren't in the field. So that's where we have to be cueing what that feels like and give our students permission to bring their feet a little bit closer if they took a stance too far. So let's just feel that. Okay. So one more way to get into warrior two is from a wide straddle stance. So let's all, and if you're going to do it that way, then you cue your students to the middle of the mat, facing the long edge of the mat. Okay. From this mountain pose, let's walk our feet away from each other into a wide straddle stance. Okay. Look at your left foot and pop your left heel a little bit further away than the left pinky toe. Good. And turn your right toes to the front edge of the mat. Or the short edge of the mat. Turn your right toes to the short edge of the mat. Good. From here, find mountain feet. Neutralize your pelvis. Good. Now, before you do anything else, feel how your inner thighs can hug to the center line of the body. Do you feel that? How they can. Okay. So we can do that. And now let's come into warrior two here. And let's find like, you know, just like 2% of that inner thigh hugging to the center line of the body. And so you can do it, right? Like it's accessible. Okay, so now straighten your leg, come into an obscenely wide position, go wider. Okay, and find the knee over the ankle, get that knee over the ankle. Good, now, first of all, can you still hug the inner thighs towards the center line of the body? No, probably not. And some people like do have like muscular tone to do it. So then the next step is, does the strength of the inner thighs, when they hug in, does it extend all the way up into the pelvic floor? And if it's a no, you're too wide. Okay. I gotta come on. Very uncomfortable. So let's feel this on the other side now too, and so we can feel those two different things. So from mountain pose, facing the long edge of our mat. Let's step our feet nice and wide. Look to your right foot and pop the right heel a little further away than the right pinky toe. And then left toes look to the short edge of the mat. Neutralize your pelvis, find mountain feet. And from that, come into your warrior two stance. So hug your inner thighs towards the center line of the body. And notice then you feel that, and then there's also a soft lift up through the pelvic floor. Okay. All right, now let's take our foot wider, just to, you know. And the thing too is I want you to really do is like, get that knee over ink. Obviously, if like the knees here and they're this wide, you know, they're too wide, but some people can make it look good, right? But hug your inner thighs towards the center line of the body.
What
Can you
happens
feel
to
the lift
me-
up?
I feel the lift up, but I also feel it in this glute here
Uh-huh.
and on both sides, and don't feel it when my feet are closer together to the glute.
So, and you're feeling a little like a tension spot there?
Yeah.
Mhm. So pain?
Well,
You gotta come on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Twinge.
Yeah. So that twinge. So there's so many just like little things, but this warrior two is the foundation of extended angle or lateral angle, reverse warrior, and then our triangle pose as well. So we really want to make sure that we have our foot stance, our neutral pelvis, our inner thigh engagement. We want to make sure we have all that established so that we can teach all those postures and know that they're safe. They've got a good, strong foundation. Questions, thoughts about that? Okay. One thing about the wide stance transition is this again can be good for the runner's lunge. The whole vinyasa can be a little bit, you know, challenging for some populations to move around a lot. What I have found is that when I use this transition, in general, the alignment looks way worse than it when I use runner's lunge. Like I have to spend way more time fixing up their foot placement and their pelvis and everything. So it is good for those populations that the vinyasa and the runner's lunge, you know, because some people's runner's lunge, they just like can only do this, you know, and then they do that. And, you know, so sometimes those populations you need to use that transition, but just know that you might like watch that and you might have to give a little bit more alignment cues to make sure they're just right. If it's a population that can do the runner's lunge, do that, because just in general, where you step your foot back to and pop it down, it's just always like, it's all like really nice alignment. Okay. So, reverse warrior and lateral angle. Would somebody be open to demoing that up here so I can kind of talk about the pose while they're in it? Thank you, Miss Jenny, come on up here. Okay. So you can stand at the head of the mat between the blocks. All right, and who's going to cue Miss Jenny into runner's lunge? Has anyone not gone yet?
I have not.
Okay,
Into runner's lunge.
yes.
Right. Blocks in front, take a deep inhale up, arms up, exhale, forward fold, hands on blocks. Step the right foot back, runner's lunge.
Beautiful. Now ground your right foot for a warrior two stance, heel to arch of foot alignment. And then on an inhale, lift up and into your warrior two. Okay. So we want to always establish this warrior two foundation, establish, you know, we've got mountain feet, we've got the back heel grounded, we've got neutral pelvis, knee over ankle. Can you feel those inner thighs? Ability to hug in. Great. So now reverse warrior is when this back hand will barely touch the thigh. So can you bring your right hand and barely touch the thigh and left arm straight up? And tell me what's with your shoulder? You've got which is one of them injured?
They're both silly.
Okay, okay. So I'm nice and kind. So with this reverse warrior, this hand is barely touching the thigh. It's not a kickstand for the pose. Otherwise you're losing your core support. This arm comes straight up and the palm, if it's okay, turns to face the same direction as the head or the back, whatever it is. Option to reach that arm a little bit further towards the ear if that's available. Okay, now, what do you think happens to a lot of people in that front leg?
It straightens.
It straightens,
It's
yes.
straightening.
Yeah, so, okay, so let's have you inhale back into warrior two. Good, exhale into runner's lunge. Step your right foot forward, forward fold. Good, and step the left foot back, runner's lunge. Ground your left foot for warrior two and inhale up and into warrior two. So now we're on the other side, just bringing some balance here. We've established our nice good warrior two. If we're going to come into our reverse warrior, I'll often cue, can you take baby bend your right knee just a little bit more forward, like a millimeter more forward. So you're just getting that awareness there. Keep that knee exactly there. Bring your left hand to barely touch your left thigh and your right arm up to the sky, palm facing the back wall or the wall to your left. And so then you watch and keep bending that right knee, keep grounding that right heel. So that way, just that little bit of awareness of that baby bend tends to help students like stay in that pelvic alignment. Good. Inhale up into warrior two. Exhale into runner's lunge. Stepping your left foot forward, forward fold. Inhale, reverse forward fold. And exhale, hands to heart center. Good. So just in general, are you cool? Can you do a few more? You good? Okay. So with reverse warrior, what's the intention of that? Why would we want to do reverse warrior?
Open up this side.
Yeah. So it's a lateral bend to the side. So you're opening up those rib cages, that thoracic, those intercostal muscles. So there's a lot of good to be had with doing that sort of side bend action. Right. Does that make sense? And so IYT puts reverse warrior in the same, it's just like a modification of warrior two because it is quite close. One option too is just with this hand is barely touching the thigh, or sometimes it can come behind the body like this. You know, that sort of thing. And that would, maybe if you're working towards like a bird of paradise or something like that. Okay, so now we're gonna lateral angle it, okay? Inhale your arms to the skies. Exhale, big bend in the knees, forward fold, and step the right foot back into runner's lunge. Ground the right foot for warrior two. Inhale up and into warrior two. Mountain feet, neutral pelvis, tall spine. Good. Now for lateral angle, extended angle, side angle, multiple names, same pose. She's gonna come forward here. So what do you think might happen to that front knee?
Might bend
Bend
more.
forward.
It might bend more, right? She might start dumping in it. So can you just really ground your right heel to the earth and really engage that right gluteal so you have a little extra strength in that right leg? Now take your left forearm and rest on your left thigh, barely touching it. Again, you're using core strength, barely touching it. We're not dumping. Okay. Yes, thank you. Dump asana. Beautiful asana. Okay, so I want to just point out, see how her rib cage is nice and long. Here we want to keep lengthening the rib cage, and her heart is looking straight forward. And this is an open twist. Okay, it's got help from the pelvis, but it is an open twist. Options: hand to the hip, or hand to behind the body towards or to the left thigh. Okay, options. Other options: arms straight up to the sky. Bring it right back up to 12 o'clock. Turn the palm towards the crown of your head and reach that right arm over the right ear space, lengthening through the side body. Good. And can you lift your ribs to the right a little bit? Yes. So heart forward. We're just going to focus on, I don't want to over fatigue her, but just notice heart forward. She's in this nice plane here. She doesn't have her booty sticking out or anything like that. Okay, big breath in. Exhale, look down to your big toe and transition into runner's lunge. Good, step the right foot forward, forward fold, and the left foot back, runner's lunge. Ground the left heel, warrior two stance, and inhale up and into warrior two. Good. Now, if someone's in warrior two, and could you go into surfer's pose? Oh yeah. Yes. Okay. She does it so good. You know all of it. Okay. So if we're seeing this, should we cue lateral angle?
No.
No, we gotta get the foundation. So like when you think about reverse warrior or lateral angle, the foundation is warrior two. It's not just the feet, it's warrior two. So we have to make sure the whole foundational pose is just right. So could you please lift your right hip, lower your left, lengthen your spine. I'm just telling you, they will not do that. Yeah, like there, I'm totally getting it pose. Okay, yes. Okay, now, what's the cue for that back leg before we come into it? Mountain foot, ground the left heel
Oh, yeah, and a little bit of the glute. there.
and engage that left hamstring gluteus. So the grounding of the heel kind of naturally engages the gluteal, but you can just affirm that, okay? So keep that strong back left leg. And then what about this right arm? How are we gonna cue the placement of it?
Place the left palm.
It's the right forearm
right.
Forearm,
on
the
the
right
right
thigh.
lightly, barely, yes. Good. Lengthen the waist. Shine the heart to the sky. Good. Arm can stay here in 12 o'clock. Option to bring the hand to the hip or to reach the arm up and overhead towards the ear space. Okay, good. Take a long breath in. On your exhalation, look down to your big toe, coming into the runner's lunge, stepping your left foot forward, forward fold. Inhale and reverse forward fold. And exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, now, what do people, what's, if that's like the starting place for lateral angle, what comes next? What a teacher's cue.
You could extend both
You mean
arms
like
out
to
straight.
go further into the more advanced pose, you mean?
Yes.
Or- Okay, so you put your hand on the floor.
Yeah, so bringing that hand down, right?
And then you
Arms could
totally,
be
you
pulled
make,
out.
When you do.
Oh, and
half-
both, yes, yes.
do a half move.
well, no, then you have that.
No, not, just still staying in the lateral ankle
Oh,
family,
You're
yeah.
down here like this, but then you've got the line from your
Yes.
hand and your fingers to your foot
Mhm.
all the way.
Yeah, so we're gonna look at that, and then, is the hand to the block, or is that part of, okay, great. So inhale, no, someone else do it with breath. Cue or with breath, someone.
Inhale, lift your arms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, plant your hands and step back with your left foot.
We do right foot.
Right foot.
Ooh, fancy. Ground the right foot for a warrior two stance. Inhale up and into warrior two. Okay, so got mounted feet, we're good here. So please place your left, ground that right heel to the earth and engage that right gluteal. Keep that strength in the back right leg as you softly place your left forearm on your thigh, extending your right arm straight up to the sky. This is a very good cue. Inhale, lengthen the waist. Exhale, shine the heart to the sky, rotate the ribs to the right, however you want to say it. You'll get to feel it. Now, if people are going to go into a deeper expression of the posture, bringing their hand down, they have to be able to keep that heart to the sky. So this is her base. Could you bring your right arm and heart forward? If any of that action happens, it's too far. It's too far. So go back to show us what you got. And so we have to maintain this. So you could bring your left hand down to the block. Inhale, lengthen the waist, shine the heart to the sky. Good. Maybe bring your hand to the block in a lower position. Good. Inhale, lengthen the waist, shine the heart to the sky. So she's got this part of her practice. Good. Or take your left hand and grab your left ankle. Inhale, lengthen the waist, shine the heart to the sky, please. Now, can you show us what you will see a lot of? You can. Yes. Collapsed spine.
floor.
Yeah, nailed it. So we're gonna see a lot of this. So this is where that, yeah, okay, so yeah, come on out of it. I know, it hurts.
It's not comfortable.
Yeah. So it's not comfortable, but people will do it because they think yoga's not supposed to be comfortable. They think it's supposed to hurt. And you're like, no, pain-free range of motion, pain-free postures. Where can you breathe? So from that first lateral angle, we establish alignment and then we require that. And so if we're going to do different arm shapes and arm positions, we have to make sure that we're not either collapsing the side waist or letting the heart or letting the shoulder and heart roll forward. okay? And obviously, we want to maintain those warrior 2 legs, you know, so if you're seeing anything else, adjust south of the belly button. That's also a challenge. So now we're going to do the other side. I'm just going to show you 2 more options for these postures. So let's bring can you bring the blocks to the other side of the mat? So you can stuff the back. I want them to see the front of your body. Okay, inhale, arms to the skies. Exhale, big bend in the knees, forward fold, and step the left foot back into runner's lunge. Ground the left foot for a warrior 2 stance and inhale up and into your warrior 2. Good. Ground that left heel to the earth. Good. Engage in left gluteal. Now take that right arm and softly place it on your right forearm. Take the left arm all the way up to 12 o'clock. Turn the palm towards the ear or head space and reach that left arm over the ear space. All right. Inhale, lengthen the waist. Exhale, shine your heart to the sky. This is now my cue is if it feels like a good idea. That's one of my, optional cues. If it feels like a good idea, maybe extend your right arm out to the side like you're holding a great big beach ball above your head with both arms. Core strength. Inhale, lengthen the waist. Exhale, shine the heart to the sky. So this is like really like, yes, she's got it, nailed it. Okay. Now inhale back into warrior 2. And then let's look at what vinyasa looks like. Can you exhale into reverse warrior, extending your right arm to the sky? Good. Inhale into extended angle arm. Right arm barely touches right thigh, left arm up to the sky. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhaling into lateral angle. Notice how her legs are staying so steady, right? Okay. And now one more, can you just do, I know I'm over fatiguing the side of your body, but could you please come back to warrior 2? And then the other variation is like the look mom, no hands variation. So we're going to inhale into reverse warrior, left arm behind the body, right arm up. So we're not touching anything. Exhale, extend the angle, right arm in front of the belly, left arm over ear. Okay, inhale, reverse warrior. Left arm behind the body, right arm up the sky. Exhale, extended angle, right arm in front of the belly, left arm up and over the ear. So do that a couple times. And so this is if we've got dumpers, you know, if we're dumping into the posture, if we don't give them anything to dump into, there's only core strength available to us. Good. Exhale into the runner's lunge. Step your left foot forward, forward fold. Inhale, reverse forward fold. And exhale, mountain.
Thank you for doing that workout for us.
Thank you, yes. I'm not just cueing it, my gosh. Okay, so how would you like to feel some of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, questions, comments before we go into the feels? I know there wasn't an enthusiastic yes, I want to feel it, but this is the opportunity that we need to seize. Jenny, you may sit this one out. Okay, you've earned the free spot token or whatever. Okay. So from mountain pose, can I just point something out too? I just want to show you like something. This is for you. This is like for like when you're coming. So in that forward fold, I can't overemphasize enough how important the hips back is for this. Okay. Into your forward fold. And I don't even think of it as like a modification. I think of it as this is forward fold. This is how we're intended. Look at little kids. That's how they go down to the ground. Okay. So hips back. And then in half forward fold, I really want you to watch out for, oftentimes people lengthen their legs and push their buns back. So they hyperextend the knees and push the buns back. We'll see that all the time. So I just want you to look at my body and see, this is what we'll see a lot. People will keep the long legs, they'll hinge forward, not the worst thing in the world. I've got the mobility, so I'm not going into flexion, but then in that half forward fold, they pop like this. So I just want you to be really aware of if you're doing that or if you see your students doing that, because that will just really damage the knee over time. It's overstretching that back. Our legs aren't straight. Our legs have like a little bend in it, and then if we continue to overextend and push that back and overstretch the soft tissue behind the knee, it's just really dangerous because it's really hard to get it to go back to the correct length. So, so just be careful of that.
Question, when we are in the forward fold.
Yeah.
I think about my weight going forward. And I think sometimes to test, to make sure I'm not like leaning backwards, I lift my heels and then place them back down. Is that? What are your thoughts
I
on
would
that?
I would do the opposite. I would think of when I go into forward fold, I would think of my weight going back into the heels. Because I think it goes forward naturally because you're bringing your body weight forward. So you have to kind of counterbalance that with the heels grounded and the hinge of the hips. Yeah. Yeah. And this is functional movement. You know, this is sustainable yoga practices, you know, be able to do this over and over. Okay. Mountain pose. I always cue the exhale because then I know that everyone's ready for an inhale. So let's take a full exhale together. Good. Inhale, circle the arms to the skies. Exhale, big bend in the knees, forward fold. Inhale, maintain that soft bend in the knees, half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold, hands to block, stepping the right foot back into runner's lunge and grounding your right foot for a warrior two stance.
Which foot was that?
Right foot back. And inhale up and into your warrior two. Affirm you have mountain feet, neutral pelvis. Good. Now, preparing for this reverse warrior, let's take that front knee and just micro bend it 1 more millimeter forward. From there, take your left hand and barely touch left thigh as right fingers reach up to the sky. Reverse warrior.
Okay, but did I go the wrong way? I'm putting my right hand down, right?
Yep.
You said left hand, but that's what you
What's
did.
the other right? Okay.
I just
What's
want to
the
make
other
sure that I
left?
didn't go the wrong way.
Yeah, no, you're okay. Wait, well, okay, so your left leg is forward, bend your left knee. Yeah, keep bending, keep bending, keep bending. Good, right hand barely touches right thigh. Left arm up to the sky. Okay. Now return to warrior two. So nothing should change in the legs. Ready? Okay, now left forearm barely touches left thigh, right fingertips up to the sky. Good. Maybe reaching the right arm over the ear. Good. From navel to feet are firmly grounded. Now really feel that right heel ground to the earth, engage the right gluteal. Good. Now inhale and reverse warrior. Bringing your right hand to your right thigh, left arm to the sky. Exhale, extended angle. Resist the urge to bend and straighten the leg. Inhale, extended angle. Inhale and reverse warrior. Take that flow a few times. Good. At your next extended angle, bring your hands all the way to the earth or blocks into the runner's lunge. Stepping the right foot forward, forward fold. Right. Baby bend the knees and inhale, half forward fold. Exhale, forward fold, stepping your left foot back into runner's lunge. Grounding left foot for warrior two stance. And inhaling up and into your warrior two. But find that knee over ankle, the strong pelvis. Now, as we explore reverse warrior, let's take that right knee and just baby bend it just a little bit more forward. And then bring your left hand, barely touch left thigh and reach the right fingertips up to the sky. But maybe even gaze up towards your right fingertips, palm faces the back wall. Exhale, legs stay as they are, and we come into that extended angle, grounding left heel to the earth, engaging left gluteal. Yes, inhale and reverse your warrior. Exhaling into extended angle. Taking this flow from side to side, opening the side body, resisting the urge to straighten and bend the knee. Keep that back leg nice and strong, front leg nice and bent. Good. And at your next exhalation, all the way into the runner's lunge. Stepping your left foot forward, forward fold. Inhale, reverse forward fold. Exhale, mountain pose. Good. I know your bodies are about shot, okay? And after this, we just have we have triangle pose after this. There's one more pose after this. So my question for you is, within your body, would you like to feel and play around with these variations here, or save it for a rainy day? Like, I don't want to, you're the only one who's in your body.
It's something that I already do. I could be corrected or,
Mhm.
you know, if you wanted to
Yeah,
evaluate me, but otherwise, if no one wants to, then it can wait.
take it or leave it, I'm seeing. Okay, and we'll go into this again, like in module 6, we do these postures again with hands-on assist, so you'll get some evaluation with that. Like, I know it's like 4 months away, but it's, you know what I mean? Like, you got the information, you got the pictures, you can incorporate that into your practice. I just don't want to murder you and your bodies. I would like you to be able to walk on Tuesday morning. Okay.
Tomorrow morning too?
No,
Well, it's-
tomorrow, no.
Second
Tuesday,
day.
sure.
No, I
Second day's always the
well,
worst.
second day is always the worst. The 24 hours, you're like, oh, I got this, I'm a rock star. And then, yeah,
Second day, you're like bedridden.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's my experience. Epsom salt baths and, Okay. Triangle pose. Why don't you just take a seat for a minute, okay? I'm gonna talk it through with my body so you can just see some different things. So just make sure you're in a position where you can see my body.
Do we know where it is in here?
It,
It should be.
for you, it's on page 6. So Carla, for you, it's probably like 2 pages later. From where you are, not from page 6. Okay. So, triangle pose. Warrior 2 foot stance. So the width of a warrior 2, heel to arch of foot alignment. The difference being that you don't have the bent front leg, so both legs are straight, okay? Now, we're going to just kind of zoom in on this pelvis because this is where we've gone awry with this posture and with the cueing of this posture. So what do we know about our pelvis?
We like to keep it neutral.
Thank you. And why do we want to keep it neutral?
Balance.
Yep, it increases balance.
It prevents pain and injury.
Yes, so we have core strength.
Or
We,
nerve pain.
yes,
whatever.
yeah. So essentially, neutral pelvis keeps where our femur bones come into the hip socket. It keeps them like where they're supposed to be. When we're moving our pelvis a lot, then like the femur bone is going into and out of the soft tissue surrounding the hip.
It's another part of mountain. It's one of the cues in mountain.
Yes.
So you want to maintain that in all your standing posture.
Exactly. So we want to keep that neutral pelvis. So we have the strength in our lower back. We have the strength in our body. It protects, it really protects like the here to here area of our body. So I'm just gonna go here. So what do we think about, press your hips to the right, tilt your waist to the left. Do I have neutral pelvis? No, this is neutral pelvis. So this cue of like bringing us out of neutral pelvis, and then let's do even more. So take your, in this case, left hand, reach forward as far as you can. Oh, so now I'm taking this femur bone and I'm shoving it into my pelvic bowl. Okay. That's what's happening because that's what you're forcing. Can you kind of see that action of like femur bone shoving it to the inside line of, okay. And then, okay, place your hand down wherever it's gonna go, you know, like wherever it is, okay. And then we give the cue of pull your right hips back between 2 panes of glass, okay. So basically my femur bone is shoved into the inside line of my pelvic bowl, and then we're just sealing the deal with also getting it into the front of my pelvic bowl too. It's not a good thing, okay? And the thing about our hips to remember, and this is why like the warrior 1 to warrior 2, like where your femur bone comes into your pelvis, into your hip socket, you have cushion in there. We have cushion between all of our joints. And so it doesn't hurt until the cushion's gone. So people will be like, it doesn't hurt. That's why people can keep doing it over and over and over again, because it doesn't hurt until there's a problem. It doesn't hurt until you have bursitis. It doesn't hurt until you need a hip replacement. But where it does, where you can feel it, is in the lower back, because it's also torquing up your lower back as well. So we're gonna get to feel that a little bit. So I did this for like, I don't know, like a million times for years, that's how I learned it, and then I didn't understand, and then I had to relearn it. But I did this so many times, I can barely even come into triangle pose from upright, because my body just like goes into this thing that it knows so well, which is a big reason why I tend to practice and cue triangle pose from the ground up, because one, students who are like me, who have done that a million times, they can have a new experience, and so we're kind of coming into a different way. So it's like new neurological pathways are being formed. And also then I'm not pulling it into those old habit patterns. Okay. So let's look at it from here now. I've got my warrior two stance. Yeah. Heel arch alignment. I've got my mountain feet. I can pick my toes up. Okay, so if people can't pick their toes up, that means they don't have mountain feet. All right. And now this is just like kind of my neutral pelvis right here. So I just use this as like my starting off point, provided I'm not round. Can you see rounding, tucking the tailbone?
Mhm.
So if this for me, what do I need?
You lift your tailbone.
Yeah, but what if I can't lift my tailbone?
Flatten it back. Lift your head. Everything.
Yeah, we gotta get
Solid
higher.
blocks.
We gotta get higher. Yeah.
Solid blocks.
Yeah, so if people can't come out of flexion, you gotta get them higher. Okay, so this is where like, like chairs and little things, things like that. But usually the blocks in the
Bringing
height,
the feet closer together now,
that makes you higher, that makes you taller.
but I understand that. I just didn't know.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, no. Unfortunately, the bringing the feet wider could help out with the flexion, but then you'll lose the core engagement. So. But for a lot of people, a lot of yogis, this the blocks in the high position are a fairly decent match. So from here, as we practice today, this triangle pose is an open rotation. So we have to work on rotating the ribs into the position. So watch my hip here. All right, so my hip might move a little bit. So like I start with the ribs, and maybe my hip comes a little bit back, like just as like a little bit of an action of the movement, but I'm not making it go back. And it's when my ribs have no more rotation that a little bit of that might occur. Then the triangle to really look for is this guy right here. Okay, so between my leg, my waist, and my arm, we're looking for that triangle. So if people go to the earth, they don't have the length of their spine or the length of their arms, we lose the triangle. Okay, same thing is people are like rounding their side body, going into the side bend, then we lost their triangle. So this is where lengthen your waist, shine your heart to the sky.
So the triangle is in the arm, leg, and torso.
And waist, yeah,
Like that
ribs,
thing
Set a
right
yeah.
there.
triangle between your
Yeah.
butt, too. But if you have your hand on the floor, it's in front of your foot, right? Is it in front of your foot or behind your foot?
Behind the foot. Not here,
Okay.
because that's,
It's in front of your foot and extended angle when it's behind.
yes,
Okay. got it.
yes, yes,
Alright.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm just gonna switch sides and we'll look at this again. Ooh, okay. All right.
Imagine how we feel.
Ah! Okay, I just need to shake out my lower back. Okay, so we got our warrior two stance. Long legs, ground in the back heel, all that good stuff. So what I have found, see how I'm in flexion of the spine?
Mhm.
We have to get ourselves and our students up until we are no longer in flexion. So generally finding the spine parallel to the ground is a good height to get ourselves to. Because if I'm in flexion, I can't see, then the only place to rotate is through the hip, and you're gonna get to feel that in a second. So now I am in neutral spine. My spine is parallel to the earth. And now I can focus on rotating my ribs to the right, maybe extending my arm. And we can also do that like super triangle stuff too. We can, like we did with the extended involved. Okay. So you gotta come into it, you gotta feel your feel. So I'm gonna cue you into this triangle pose, but we're gonna do some of these old cues as well. So you can just start to feel what that feels like. So you can start to get the differentiation between the two. Okay. So from mountain pose, I really hope you can all do this transition. Jessica, how are you over there? We haven't forgotten about you.
I'm doing great.
Okay, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, good. Sorry, you're,
Okay.
I feel like, I know I see you. Okay. Just wanted to acknowledge you.
Thanks.
Okay, in our mountain pose. Exhale it all the air. Inhale the arms to the skies. Exhale, big bend in the knees, forward fold. Fingertips or hands to blocks in the highest position. Step your right foot back into the runner's lunge and ground the right foot for a warrior two stance. Good, let's stay right here. And now for the blocks, we want them on either side of the shins, not in front of the foot. So let's slide our hands back so we're more surrounding the shin. Good. Now bring that left leg to straight. Good. And then start to get your mountain feet, tone up your back heel. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a lift here. Let's just start in high. You can always lower it down. Oh, do you want me to try mine? Do you want these bigger ones? Try that out. There you go. Okay, now just notice your lumbar spine, your lower back, and it's just neutral, right? It's just like there, it's fine. You don't really feel it. Lengthen your waist. Good, right hand to right hip. Okay, and now rotate your ribs to the right. And this is Trikonasana triangle. Utthita Trikonasana, extended triangle, is when the right arm extends to the sky. Okay, so just feel this a little bit. All right, and notice your lower back, notice your knees, notice your feet. Okay, now imagine your hips are between two panes of glass. Draw your right hip back and left hip forward. Keep both legs straight.
No.
Yeah, what are you feeling?
Your hip shift.
Your hip shifts? What do you feel in your lower back?
Right, and then there's like a weird stretch in your groin and.
Right?
Yeah.
You've locked out your knees, right? Yuck. Okay, runner's lunge, please. Step the right foot forward and the left foot back. Okay. Bring your right leg to straight. Affirm you have mountain feet. Okay, now, just for a second, go into flexion, round your back, or maybe just bring your hands down to the ground, round your back. Okay, and now from flexion, can you rotate your ribs to the left?
No.
No.
Like, you almost like, if you stay in
I can
flexion,
like maybe an inch. but
yeah, right? It's not accessible. So so now, let's just say you're in flexion and like your life depended on it, you had to get in a triangle pose. How would you get there? What would get the body?
Your spine.
Your spine, lift up. a
Right,
little
that's
bit.
a healthy way to get there. What if you're in an unhealthy position?
Oh, you'd have to throw your hip
You would
forward.
have to jack your hips up, right?
Mhm.
So maybe just for a second, try it like you're in flexion and then just force your kind of left shoulder over there. I don't want you to hurt yourself though, but like just for like a half second. I'm just like,
Like
so
your
you
hip-
you
your
feel
hip
it.
Throws out
You
this
have to
way
stick your
and-
booty back.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all sorts of yuck. Okay, so now let's do it the healthy way. Let's get our spine parallel to the earth. Just like 2% extension to your spine. Good. From here, locate your ribs. And let's rotate our ribs to the left as we bring our left hand to waist or up to the sky. And so what you'll find is that there is, with that left hip, maybe it goes back just like a touch, maybe it comes forward a touch, and you can play around with that a little bit and find the place where your knees and lower back are most satisfied with the pose. Big breath in, exhale into runner's lunge, step your back foot forward, I don't know where we are. Inhale, circle sweep the arms to the skies, and exhale, mountain pose. Okay, let's just synthesize some of this. So what are some of the new concepts we're thinking about with our Trikonasana, our triangle pose?
We don't want to run with that.
Yeah, so no flexion of
No
the spine.
flexion.
Maintain neutral hips.
Maintain neutral hips,
Mountain feet.
mountain feet, yeah,
You might have to rise up to be able to get your back
out of flexion,
out of flexion.
yeah.
Shine our heart forward to help open up the shoulders.
Yeah. So if you, so some people to have their hand on the ground, that as you observe, so for my hand on the ground, I'm in flexion, right? And
Right.
so I can't do this, but watch my knees. For me to do it, I would hyperextend my knees, jack my thigh bone up into my hip socket, and then everyone's like, yay, beautiful triangle, look at this great student. And I'm like jacking up my body, you know? So we want to always make sure we're coming into rotation, whether it's open or closed, from neutral spine. If we had to choose, it could be from neutral spine or like 2 to 5% extension, you know, if we had to pick which way to go. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is we're gonna come into triangle pose from the top once, and I'm gonna let you just kind of move in your own body and just see if you can find it. Let's have a learning experience together. See if you can find triangle pose coming from the top and what that looks like and feels like for you. So, yes, let's step our feet wide into straddle. Good. Turn your left heel out just a few centimeters past your pinky toe. I'm sorry. Yes, and then your right toes towards the short edge of the mat. So right toes will be to the short edge of the mat. Right leg will be the front leg. Okay, tone up your legs, find mountain feet, mountain pelvis. And then it's literally just play around. Like, what would it take? What would it take to get into triangle pose from here?
Well, I don't see why it's a big deal, but maybe I do.
So we want to get let's try it higher. So if your spine is rounding to the side, we want to keep your ribs parallel to the ground, not rounding to the ground or not arching.
Okay,
Yes,
so what-
there.
What was it doing before?
This, can look at me. So this is what you're going into a lateral bend to get the hand to the ground versus neutral spine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't keep.
So let me just feel it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. It's very hard, right?
And then
Because you don't have that
I
stability.
can't straighten my legs and straighten
Yeah,
my legs, and I
Then you go into
do my
there.
hips.
So the only way like I can kind of do it is if I'm upright with the back leg, if I just kind of come like a third of the way into warrior one, essentially, like I just kind of bring my hips a little bit into warrior one, then I'm able to extend the spine and kind of come into it. But it's definitely not like straight to the side. I have to like create that little, so maybe try that out for a little bit and see if that works for you. The thing is, even though like that kind of works for me, if I cue it to a class, they think that I screwed up my right and the left. And when I say bring that like that back, like the right hip forward a little bit, they're like, oh, she just screwed up. We got to move it back, you know? So because we have that idea of how we practice triangle pose.
So if I was gonna do this from up here,
Yes,
okay, so I'm here,
yeah.
then what I would do is I'd put a hand on my hip and do
Yeah.
the rotation first, and then I'd put my arm up to the ceiling. Does that
You're good.
Am I, okay, I got it.
So your lower back will also be a good cue giver for you. So in triangle pose, your lower back, we want to feel nothing. It's like it's an invisible joint. If you can feel your lower back, then your pelvis isn't in the right position. Your spine needs to be a little bit higher. So that can be a good cue for your students. And it's not if you feel pain, it's if you feel your lower back. It should be sensation free. Okay. Yeah, so so attached to the videos or in the Google Classroom is me cueing triangle from the ground up. So you've got my
So
voice
we
doing
do it
that.
from the, that's how we were in forward fold and back into runner's lunge and everything like that.
Right, so it's from runner's lunge, whether you step a foot forward or a step back to get there, up to you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're at 5:15. We're perfectly on time. There's going to be a little discussion and lovey goodies for your body from here on out, okay? But I want to answer questions about Warrior 1, Warrior 2, the Warrior 2 family, triangle pose. Any final questions or thoughts about any of those?
Who shouldn't do it at all?
Warrior 2?
Any of them? They're all kind of,
Okay,
the
it's,
level
it-
one wouldn't do it.
no, level 1 can do it. You just
Level
need to-
1 can do Trikonasana.
if I teach Trikonasana in a level 1 class, I would do like today, I make it a peak pose, so like we're like making an event out of it.
Okay.
And just know, like, I mean, if you have, if you have a wall, we can get parallel to the wall here and like, kind of start playing around with a Trikonasana here. If you have a chair, it's just lovely, because then you can really open up your waist. So there's ways to make it accessible. Oh, okay. Warrior 1, no bueno, pregnant, second and third trimester. And other than that, it's just pain, if you have pain. So I mean, and just like obvious things, like if you sprained your ankle, if you just got a new knee or a new hip, you're gonna want to take it easy with the standing positions.
Warrior 1 is not good for pregnant.
Right.
What about Warrior 2?
Warrior 2 is safe for pregnancy. For Warrior 1 and pregnant, if we can just get their feet a little bit wider, like the heel to heel alignment is really what's not safe for it. So if they could really get their feet on more like train track feet,
Yeah.
then it could be safe. Warrior 2 and its family, okay, is for just like pain, like you maybe have an injury somewhere, but then Warrior 2 is in the family of external rotation. And we'll talk about this much more in a further module, but external, in general, our culture, just like we have too much of this, too much flexion, we have way too much external rotation. And the external rotation is our low back, hip, and knee pain. Okay, so if you are in that family of low back, hip, and knee pain, then you like that whole family of asana is like a skip it. Or at least until your body comes back into balance. And our feet are gonna be like a mess right now because we just did all this external rotation. But when we lay on our backs with no strength in the body, your body was made to have your toes look straight up to the sky.
Really?
Yes.
What?
If they go like this, that means your soft tissues have been stretched to always be in external rotation. You want toesies straight to the sky. Toesies face to the sky. And if one, and then
How do yours go?
I go out,
we live,
I
so
go
this
out.
external rotation of the legs is kind of like flexion of the spine. It's hard to find a body that doesn't have it. Generally, the only time I see bodies that don't have it are, I'll get people like post PT, like a really good PT will get the body in balance, or a student like post a new hip, like then that'll like pull it into balance. But most people and most yogis, because the yoga practice is so externally rotation favored, it really kind of can ruin the low back, hip, and knee. All that
It's
external
interesting,
rotation.
just if you put them in the right alignment, it's like, well, geez, I don't wanna leave them there, I mean, it's not comfortable.
Right, so you have to work for it, but what you can do is you can like prop them up, you can
Yeah.
do like things to like help them stay there.
Huh.
Put straps around it,
Yeah.
things like that, yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
So then to correct some of that, would it be good, the one where you strap up your feet, your leg, one foot and hold it upright? Would that be a good one to help redo some of that?
the best, so practicing neutral, anything with neutral leg, so your like mountain pose, your chair pose,
Staff.
your staff has its own like issues with it. But technically, in terms of like hips, yes. It's just most people can't have their spine upright in staff pose. The Warrior One family, Warrior Three, pyramid pose. So that's going to empower neutral pelvis. And then to like sometimes to correct, we overcorrect, right? So pigeon toes are helpful. And then pigeon toes are always helpful in a rotation. So like a straddle leg with pigeon toes is a really great way. A straddle leg with pigeon toes and rotation is really good. And then rotation in general is good to help bring the body back into neutral. You can also do things like when you're just like hanging out, like you just bring your leg into internal rotation and stack your other leg on top of it like this
Hold it there.
and just hold it there. Yeah. You just do that and then, a commercial, those commercials anymore. You do the other side.
How much ballet dancers do major external rotation?
Oh my gosh, they're the worst.
I mean, they
Yeah.
walk like this.
They're the worst.
Yeah, but their bodies are,
but they're
ask
swayed.
them how their body feels.
Right, I know, that's what I'm
That's why
saying.
their career is so short. And so then also a really great way is then tenting the knees inward for constructive rest and just like hanging out here for periods of time.
So those are all things to counter.
Yeah, to bring you back into balance. And so then therefore all those things I just said, like if you're working for low back, hip and knee health or pain-free, those are all of the family of things that you would invite into your practice.
If the culture is for external rotation favored, and it's understood that there are lots of people with low back, pain, knee problems, why is that a situation when we have the power to choose? I guess I'm wondering
For
why.
a yoga teacher,
Yeah,
there's two things. One, it's a know better, do better situation. And I really think that most teachers don't know better. And additionally, there's a lot of poor information out there. You might not know this, but you can't believe everything you read on the internet. I know. And if you Google like low back pain yoga, they almost always show like triangle pose. They show all these external, they'll say like, do triangle pose, do butterfly pose. And you're like, what in the world? Like, who is your informer? Because that is the worst thing you could do. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. And then there is like, if you ask, like, let's just do a little survey. Which do you prefer? Who, Warrior One, Warrior Two? Raise your hand if you prefer Warrior One. Okay. Raise your hand if you prefer Warrior Two. Okay, so it's usually Warrior Two biased. And that's usually because it's where, again, that's like why people like thread the needle. It's because it's where your spine is all day long. Our Warrior Two family is where your hips and pelvis are all day long. It's easier. Warrior One is harder. It is harder because Warrior One, you're undoing the damage. It doesn't hurt, it's harder. And so being able to differentiate the two makes a difference. And so
True.
Mhm.
Can you give us a number of examples? Because this is something I would not be aware of, but it would be useful keeping in mind as I continue to practice. which is how
Examples of
next
what?
time, positions that are causing us to be favored toward external rotation.
Oh, well, like, okay, Sukhasana, butterfly,
What is butterfly?
Baddha Konasana,
Mhm.
warrior two, extended angle, lateral angle, triangle pose, and pigeon pose,
Reclined goddess,
reclined goddess, goddess,
goddess.
Malasana.
How about happy baby happy baby's okay?
Happy babies.
It's
Okay.
keeping us pretty neutral.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Central, central,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And again, it's like, we also have to like consider to a point dosage. So this, again, I'll like go on a soapbox. I think it's in module 6 about this a little bit, so you'll get to hear my whole rant about it. But there is this just like gross misinformation of like yoga teachers where you go and they're like, we're gonna have a hip class, we're gonna do a hip opener class.
Yeah.
And all they do is external rotation. And let me tell you something. Your hip does flexion, extension, external rotation, and internal rotation. And not to mention, it can move in a circle. Okay, so if you're going to do a hip opener class, you need to open like
Open
all the
all
whole
directions.
thing. Yeah, not just like one way, particularly the way that we are all favored that we have too much external rotation.
So
So what about lizard?
Lizard is okay because in terms of external rotation, it's okay but it can put a lot of stress on the hip flexors. So as long as you don't have like, a lot of times lizard will feel good in the moment and not good later on. So that's where you have to learn like how deep is appropriate for you. But it's mostly neutral. In terms of internal, external. Mhm. Yes. Tree pose. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep going.
yeah, like you flip your leg out, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm just trying to turn everything in right now.
Yes, yeah, well, and it's so funny, like, cause people come in and they're like, oh, my low back hurts, it hurts all the time, and so, and oftentimes I will start every class like in like a shavasana, and then go into constructive rest,
Oh, and so many.
because you
can't
just
even-
look in the whole room,
Yeah,
you're like,
they can't even get into Shavasana.
right, but so then they're in shavasana, and then I just roll their thigh bones forward like this, and I hold it there, I go, how's your low back feel here? And they're like, oh, it's so much better. Like, I know, because your legs are where they're supposed to be. Like,
Wow,
yeah.
amazing. That's really cool. So this is a hip opener?
That's external rotation.
External
Yeah,
rotation.
so supine, pigeon, no bueno.
So then this one would be good.
Yes, so cow's face is
Yeah, I love
fabulous.
that.
Cow's face is great. So whether you're doing it supine, seated, or standing, it's good.
So is the pigeon, the upright pigeon
All pigeons are no bueno.
are not good?
I know, because it's where you are all the time, because you're so good at it, you know? I know.
It's so that when your knees are stacked like this and your feet are under you.
Cow's face like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
So that kind
I know you don't like it,
Well, I'm
because
not, can I even do
this
that? I don't even know if
doesn't
I've ever
favor
done that.
your,
Oh, okay, well, I
uh-huh,
don't do it well.
Is that different than twisting, when you hook your elbow, the position you're adjusting?
rotations are always good for it, because rotations are, well, internal rotation, a closed rotation, doesn't matter like whether you're seated on your back, lunge, when you're in, because you're always gonna be hugging things into the central line of the body, not drawing it away.
But this would be no, because it's.
Oh, this would be a no.
Yeah.
But
What
this would
about
be a
lotus?
yes.
Lotus is a no.
That's a no, that's a hard no.
Open.
It's a no, not ever? Or it's a no, it has to be
Dosage.
balanced with other.
It's
Dosing,
other
so-
perspectives to what you're receiving.
So, yeah, so this is where you think, this is where dosing comes in. And you, so for A, are you pain-free? Like, so if you're coming in, and you're like, I'm pain-free, then you can dose external rotation into the practice. You don't want it to be all external rotation. So if you're coming in and you've got low back, hip, and knee pain, then what I do with that population, or and this is like in general, whenever I teach a group class, because like I said, I've never seen not splayed. I will only do warrior 2 and their family vinyasa. I don't hold it.
Mhm.
So we bend and straighten, because then the movement, like, because you can still, just because you're favoring external rotation, again, that then your inner thigh muscle is too long and stuck. So it's a painful muscle. And so the first step is to mobilize the muscle. So that's why we'll do vinyasa of a warrior 2 to mobilize the muscle. But then all my strengthening longer holds are neutral, or like even just like hugging a block between the legs, or something like that.
Are there things that we do in our regular lifestyles, like I think being on cell phones, typing on computer, sitting at desk, and it calls the flexion, the upper back, is it something that
The
we do?
cell
This is
phone.
it's the whole chain. So the flexion of the upper back, it says you have your whole core. Like if you were to draw a line from the ground all the way up your spine, this is your core, like through the center line of your body, not my belly, the center line of my body, that's your core. And so when you round the spine, you lose the core from about diaphragm north, you don't have core. And then when you externally rotate, you lose from belly down. So it's the whole core chain that these two things like directly relate to. So just the flexion of the spine is the upper half of the chain, and the external rotation of the pelvis or the hips is the lower half of the chain.
Right, my question was about the lower half. I
Yeah.
referenced
Oh,
the
what do you
upper
do?
half as a parallel example. So outside of yoga, are there examples of the way that we move in our daily lifestyles that contributes to the external rotation?
Right, so I'm gonna say the same thing, but with more clarity. When you go into flexion, you go into external rotation often. So most people, those two things go together. So when you sit down, your knees are splaying away from each other. And so you'll just kind of, look what happens when I go into flexion, look at my knees. Like, see how they just, because so those two movements go together. But then sitting, just the act of sitting is not, most people's legs sway out, and most people have like a toe that points out to the side.
It's kind of like this.
Yes.
I'm like, how do you
Yeah.
do that?
So,
His knees are here,
mhm.
Yeah.
sitting.
So when you sit, have your feet on your 11s, or internally rotated, like pigeon toed, and knock knees. Those are things that we can do to counterbalance it.
It's funny, because I was pigeon toed when I was a kid, so I had to do exercises. too.
Right. You fixed it, problem solved. And then just in general, start to notice when you stand. Most people, 1, have a leg that they favor, and 2, have at least 1 foot that they pop out to the side.
Mhm.
So stand on your 11s, like as much as you can. Sit with your 11s as much as you can. Okay. So yes, another chapter in the everything we've been doing is wrong category. Isn't it fun?
Might as well just.
Okay, so last thing we're going to do is just a little bit with this. Can you locate your sequence sheet, like your colored sequence sheet? Want to spend a little bit more time on box 13, because it always, we get to box 13, it's at the end of module 1, and I know your cup is so full at that point, And so I want to bring it back, and box 13 will be your practice teaching for module 3. So,
What's box 13?
It's the static stillness, cooling sauna and calming the mind.
Okay, thank you.
do you see a box 13?
Yeah, I probably just need more light.
Oh,
I think it's my flashlight.
no, do you mind, it's in the hallway, it's all the way outside of the door. Just keep walking straight. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that changes things.
That'll wake us up.
Okay. So the first thing I want to do is just in box 13, have us just kind of brainstorm some ideas. So this is the static stillness part of the class, where we are holding postures for longer periods of time. Okay, so these are like our yummy long holds. So when we think of yummy long holds and on the ground, seated postures. What are some things that come, and just omit what we just said about all the external rotation stuff, because, okay, just
Ruined it for us
just throw it
now.
out to the side, because that's what a lot of the same stuff is. Sukhasana. Yeah, what else is a seated pose?
Both.
Bound angle, butterfly,
Both.
boat, Navasana, yes. But you're not gonna hold that, that's gonna be more at the beginning of the
It's all
class.
static.
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
So what are we looking
Yeah,
for? Seated?
Forward fold.
seated poses.
All this list?
Yes, just 1 second. So any seated rotation, so it could be with your legs in Sukhasana. It could be with, the one knee bent or on the other side, or, there's lots of different like variations of seated rotation. We have our like Janu Shushasanas and
What's
our
that?
Parivrita, this,
Oh, okay.
and then our Parivrita Janu Shushasana, rotated hip to knee. And then we have like forward fold variations, things like
Yeah, I
that.
was gonna say those are calming and centering, right, at the forward. Seated.
Yes,
Yeah.
but they can be a little, they put the spine into a lot of flexion, so it's not. Okay, so I just want to get your brain around like some ideas there. So those you're all in the right family, okay? I'm glad that you said boat pose, because that really, that's more energizing. We want this more cooling nature to us. That's a good, we see the balance between the two. Okay, this is also where we would do cooling inversions. So let me start with heating inversions. A heating inversion is L stand, handstand, headstand. Those are like bigger, you are inverted. So your heart, your head is below your heart. That's an inversion, head below heart. And they're very heated, fiery. Even like down dog is like a heated inversion. Okay. So we're not going to do heating poses here. We're going to do cooling poses and cooling inversions. Child's pose is a cooling inversion. Your head is below your heart and it's a cooling restful position. Okay. Any other ideas of what a cooling inversion might be?
Legs up the wall.
Legs up the
Or
wall,
shoulders
cooling
Stand
inversion.
or have shoulder stands.
Yeah, your shoulder stands, your plow, your supported bridge with a blanket or block beneath the low back.
Got it.
Puppy pose.
Yeah, puppy. So it's like a variation of it's like of child's pose, like halfway, like child's pose and down dog had a baby. Puppy.
Rabbit.
And at the end of the day here, we're just like,
Puppies.
yes. Rabbit pose, yes. Okay. So those are cooling inversions. And then we also have restorative postures. And you're going to get to have the lovely Shauna lead you through a lot of restorative yoga in a future module. But just understanding that restorative yoga is, it's actually not hatha yoga on a very technical level. So hatha yoga is using muscles and changing muscle tissue. Restorative yoga and yin yoga are changing fascial tissue. And if you're going to change fascial tissue, the muscles are relaxed. So there's no muscular engagement. Ideas, so for restore, so a lot of these like are both, you know, so like legs up the wall. That like, as long as you're just like, there's no strength necessary to be here, and then it's a restorative pose. Even if you're gonna do like a supine butterfly. So this is the yin version, no strength, and the restorative version is we would put some blocks under our legs and hold them just a little higher than they would naturally go. And then we have everything supported. We can go into a supported back bend, like laying back on a inclined bolster.
What does supported fish look like? It's on here.
Supported fish.
Supported fish, it's on here as a restorative
Blanket.
pose.
Well, I think it would just
You
be
just
like,
like up
I think
on
it'd be
your
like a
elbow,
restorative back,
bolster?
no, with a bolster, yeah, okay. So I just want to show our brain, so it really appears like our brains are in the right space, the right family, that's good.
Yeah.
And then the other piece with box 13 is that it comes after the back bends. And so within that box, we want to bring the body back into neutral and homeostasis after the back bends. And so that's why it says here, counter it with a twist. So like you need somewhere in box 13, you need a rotation. Okay. A hip stretch. So just like, you just gotta move the hips a little bit, you know? So like child's pose, knees to chest, all those are like little hip stretches. So something like that is good.
Windshield wipers.
Windshield, yep, and that's a rotation too. And so many things are like actually both, you know, and then,
Both, right? That's internal, external rotation.
yeah. Yes. And then a gentle forward fold. So when we think about forward fold, it's just our legs and our chest are coming closer together. Okay, so it could be child's pose. It could be down dog, I wouldn't really do it there. Legs up the wall could be it, knees to chest is a gentle forward fold. So we're just in that like gentle category. So that's why I so many classes end with like knees to chest, rotation, you know, because like bada bing, bada boom, you just brought the body back
And
into
then you
balance.
do that, a lot of them end with that twist to the side where you drop your legs.
Yeah,
I forget what that's called. but
just supine twist, supine
supine
rotation.
twist, okay.
So when we're looking at our toolbox,
Yes,
and I'm trying to utilize if you look on the front page of the posture, the box in the lower right corner would start with systems balance at the top. So this list at the bottom is called an energizing scale. I'm look there to determine if it's pulling or not, or somewhere else on this list.
It's called an equal cooling. I don't know. You said what this-
right,
this-
so what the, so in short, no. I would, for box 13, I would use the reference that we gave you, the other page that's in the,
This one.
yes, that's, I call it the like sequencing cheat sheet, or, you know, that says.
Fantastic.
So, because there can be cooling posture, so sometimes you just want like an overall cooling flow and overall cooling practice. And so there can be like standing or all four type positions that have a cooling nature to them as well. So it's not like a all the time it's gonna be the right pose. It's some of the time it might be. So how we're going to end our last 15 minutes is I'm going to just talk you through a box 13. So we've basically been living in like boxes 1 through 8 all day long. It's a lot. So now we're going to get to just have that little bit of counter pose for our body. Okay.
Is this something that can be recorded so we can study between?
Yeah, we're
the-
recording.
Okay.
Take your phone.
Do you have to write anything more down?
What was that?
We're just gonna,
Write anything more down?
Do you need anything more down?
So can you write it? We have to write anything.
No, this is like Just,
It's
this
like
is just dessert. This is
final
just- yes,
relaxation.
Yeah, just take it, like, take it and enjoy it.
Our homework for this, the next time is.
So the post homework is on the Google Classroom. It's labeled. And then the pre-homework will be, the reading will be uploaded soon. So focus on your post homework first. Okay, let's grab our bolster.
And then the bolster, just needs blanket, or what it was it for?
Let's borrow one.
Okay. thank you.
I'm gonna turn off the lights again now. Yeah. Oh, yes. And I'm just going to use a makeshift bolster tonight.
How do you need us on the
Okay.
bolster? Or we have some sort of-
Bolsters and a blocker too. So we'll just pretend these blankets are my bolster. Now I'm going to invite you to sit facing the long edge of your mat in the middle of the mat. And we'll just switch the feet over to the left into a Z sit. And your right foot could be under your thigh or in front of the thigh, it's just comfort. And then your bolster is going to be up from your right hip, straight out, so perpendicular to the hip.
This is uncomfortable for me.
Try the foot under the thigh. And now just hold on 1 second, now rotate to the bolster
Okay, that helps.
and lower your belly down onto the bolster and your feet to the cheek. Does it still hurt? No? Okay, thank you. Yeah. And just no strength necessary here. Affirm that you're pain-free. Feel that support of the chest from the bolster. And again, just watch your exhalation. Observe the exhale. Using as little strength as possible. Lift your body slowly up into seated. We can draw our legs around in front of us, stack. Move our bolster to the other side, perpendicular from the hip. And we'll bring our feet into our Z sit to the right now. Option to place that left foot underneath the right thigh. Just whatever's more comfortable. And then lift the waist, lift the heart, and then from there, lower down onto your bolster, resting your cheek to the earth or to the bolster. Find a comfortable position for your arms and shoulders. Again, just looking for that no strength necessary. There's that no strength necessary position. Observe the exhalation. Calming nature of that exhale. Even invite your jaw and throat to soften. Using as little strength as possible. Slowly come up into your seated. With your bolster, just imagine that this is a bolster. I invite you to take one block in the medium height. And then place the bolster on top of it into a nice angle. And then you might want a blanket behind your neck. And so it's going to be more towards the back of it. Okay. And I'm just going to show you some options. I'm going to borrow one of your boots. Can I borrow? a boot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you want the book?
Like that. There we go.
Okay, that's how I had it, and then I moved it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna show you our legs here. So come back onto the bolster. So having a little roll behind your neck can feel nice, but then we can bring our knees and just tent them inward on a block too. So or they could tent inward on each other. You can just decide what feels best for you.
The neck should be on the back of the bolster.
Yes. Yeah, and so that, I don't know, that bolster is kind of a shorty.
Oh, I'm a shorty.
And so the idea is that in these restorative postures is that you're comfortable. It is or it isn't. So it is comfortable The idea, if you had to stay here for an hour, it would be a possibility physically. Or
The
it
other one
isn't,
would not be,
the rotation.
yeah, I don't. I can't rotate.
Yet.
Yeah.
What are our hands doing?
Wherever it's comfortable. Walk your feet away from each other. And now tuck them inward. How's that? Using as little strength as possible. We're just going to move the supports from behind us out of the way so we can lie flat on our back. So often, removing the block between the legs, use your hands to just softly come up into seated. Slide your bolster to the side, and then we'll do a knees to chest. With knees to chest. Place one hand on each knee. And just make slow circles with the knees. Like you're drawing a circle on your sacrum, on your lower back, massaging that lower back. Let it be really slow and luxurious. And switching directions. With knees at center, we can take arms out to the side like the letter T or goalpost arms, and take both knees over to the right, rotation. Let your shoulders be heavy to the earth. Knees come through center and over then to the left. Both shoulders staying grounded to the earth. Nice and supported. Knees back to center. Give them a gentle squeeze in. And just think about what would be your body's preferred way to come into seated pose right now. Through your body's preferred movement pattern. Find yourself in a comfortable seated or kneeling position. We can feel our palms touch in front of our heart onto the mudra. And I invite you to join me in one round of Om. A full breath in. The light in my heart bows to and sees the light in each of your hearts. Namaste.
Namaste.
You did it. Module 2. Done. Done. Yay, good job, everyone. You did it.
I have a question. When I look at the modules and I print out things to prepare for the class,